All right, let's dive right in. If you're a gardener, you know the feeling. Winter is finally ending. The days are getting just a little bit longer, and that itch to get your hands in the dirt is, well, it's pretty much overwhelming. But if you jump the gun, you can wind up with way more frustration than fruit. So the real question is, how do you actually know when it's the right time to plant?
This just says it all, doesn't it? We've all been there. You're staring at your seed packets, just buzzing with this incredible impatience. The little packet says to wait, but the sun is shining and you're thinking, really? What's the harm in starting just a little bit early? Well, as many of us have learned the hard way, there are a few pitfalls. And yep, here they are. Does any of this sound familiar? That endless shuffle of lugging pots inside every single night because there's another frost warning? Or your seedlings getting all tall and spindly because they've totally outgrown your indoor setup? Or even worse, you end up with these root-bound plants that get so stressed when they finally go in the ground they just never really take off. See, starting too early can seriously backfire. But don't worry, there is a much, much better way.
Okay, so the very first step to perfect timing is simply understanding that not all vegetables are created equal. You can basically think of them as being on two totally different teams, and each team has its own playbook for when they're ready to get in the game. Let's meet them.
First up, we've got the cool season crops. Think of these as the tough guys of the garden. They come from places with moderate temperatures, so they actually prefer the chilly weather of spring and fall. A little bit of frost doesn't even faze them. And that's why they can be planted so much earlier in the season.
And then on the other team, you've got the warm season crops. These are your sun worshippers, the beach bums of the garden. They're originally from tropical places, so they demand warmth, warm soil to even sprout, and warm air to grow. Even the slightest hint of frost can be a knockout blow. So with this group, patience is absolutely everything. So who's on each team? Well, this slide is basically your cheat sheet. For the cool season team, you've got your peas, spinach, lettuce, broccoli, all that good early spring stuff. For the warm season team, it's all the summer superstars: tomatoes, peppers, cucumbers, corn, you get the idea. Seriously, just knowing this one simple difference is a huge leap forward in planning your garden.
Okay, so now that we know our players, we got to learn the rules of the game. And to do that, we need to turn to the calendar. More specifically to two very, very important dates.
Now this right here clears up some major confusion for gardeners. You've probably heard of hardiness zones, right? Well, those tell you which perennial plants, the ones that come back every year, can survive the winter where you live. But for our annual vegetables, the thing you really need to know is your frost dates. They tell you when it's safe to plant.
Let's start with the big one, the last frost date. Think of this as the starting pistol for planting all those tender, warm season veggies. It's the average date of the final spring frost for your specific town, and it's super easy to find. Just search online for your zip code, plus last frost date, and you'll find it in seconds.
The other bookend of your growing season is the first frost date in the fall. This is your finish line. It's when summer is officially over for those tender plants. But you can use this date to your advantage by counting backwards from it to figure out the best time to plant crops for a fall harvest.
Now, here's a really crucial point. These dates are averages. They're based on about 30 years of climate data, which makes them an amazing guideline, but they are not a guarantee. We all know how unpredictable weather can be, so you always want to keep an eye on the actual 10-day forecast. So, the calendar gives us a great starting point for sure. But the real pros, they know a third secret. It's a much more accurate signal that goes way beyond just looking at dates on a page.
And this is the million-dollar question, isn't it? Especially with our climate getting a little weird, those historical averages can sometimes be a bit off. So how can we know for sure that it's the right time to put our precious seeds in the ground?
And here's the answer. It's so simple. The real secret isn't in the air temperature, it's in the soil. Forget what it feels like outside for a second. The real signal that every seed is waiting for comes from the ground right beneath our feet. And just take a look at this. It makes perfect sense. Different seeds have totally different comfort zones. A spinach seed is ready to party when the soil is just 35 degrees. But a tomato seed, it's not even going to think about waking up until that soil warms all the way to 70 degrees. This is exactly why a one-size-fits-all planting day just doesn't work.
So why does this matter so much? Well, if you plant the seed in soil that's too cold and wet, it's probably just going to sit there and rot or become a snack for some bug or critter. But when the soil hits that magic temperature, it triggers germination to happen fast. And that quick start means you get stronger, healthier plants that are way better at fighting off pests and diseases.
Okay, we've covered the players, we've covered the calendar, and we've covered the secret weapon of soil temperature. So now let's put it all together into a simple, actionable plan that you can use this season.
Here it is, your 4-step formula for success. 1. Identify your crops. Are they cool season or warm season? 2. Find your last frost date. Super easy. 3. Read your seed packet. It'll tell you to start seeds indoors, say, 6 weeks before your last frost date, so you just count backwards on the calendar. And 4, the final check, before you plant anything outside, grab a cheap soil thermometer and confirm the ground is actually warm enough. That's it. That's the whole plan.
Now, once you've really nailed the basics of timing, you can kind of level up and try a more advanced technique to really maximize your harvest and get food from your garden all season long. And that technique is called succession planting. So instead of planting all your lettuce or all your beans on the same day, you just sow a small batch every week or two. What this does is it staggers your harvest. So instead of being buried in 20 pounds of green beans all at once, you get a nice, manageable basketful every week all summer.
And this chart is a great place to start. For really fast-growing stuff like radishes or spinach, you can plant a new little patch every 7 to 10 days. For crops that take a little longer, like carrots or cucumbers, you can stretch that out to every 2 or 3 weeks. It's a tiny change that makes a massive difference.
So, let's bring it all home. The secret to perfect planting time isn't just one thing. It's a smart combination of looking at the past, using those historical frost dates to make a plan, and then observing the present by checking the actual soil temperature. When you use both of those tools together, you really get the best of both worlds.
So now you've got it, the 3 secrets to perfect garden timing. Know your crops, read the calendar, and trust the ground. This knowledge really transforms you from a gardener who's just hoping for the best into one who's strategically planning for success. So the only question left is, what amazing things are you going to grow?